Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive transformation happening in one of the most densely packed places on Earth, Mumbai. Now, historically, the local trains here carried over 7 million people a day. 7 million. But what we're looking at today isn't just a basic transport upgrade. With the Mumbai Metro, we are literally witnessing the installation of a brand new urban operating system. It's a fundamental rewiring of how millions of people move, work, and live every single day.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with Mumbai's mobility crisis, then look at the metro mobility layer. Explore the Aqua Line revolution, check out the rise of interchange hubs, and finally, wrap up with building a multi-node megacity.
All right, part 1, Mumbai's mobility crisis. To really appreciate where Mumbai's headed, we've first got to understand its historical urban challenge. For decades, the absolute lifeblood of this city has been its suburban rail network. Historically, Mumbai was forced to operate as a linear city. Because of its geography, everyone was heavily reliant on north-south movement. Basically, you lived in the north, commuted south for work, and then made that grueling trek back home every evening. But over the last few decades, things changed. Business districts exploded outwards into places like BKC, Powai, and Navi Mumbai. The city's footprint got way wider, but the transit system, well, it just kept forcing everyone into that same completely saturated north-south bottleneck.
And because those new business hubs didn't line up perfectly with the old rail corridors, road congestion just went off the charts. Trying to travel east to west across the city became painfully and notoriously inefficient. It was super clear that Mumbai had completely outgrown its linear constraints. The city desperately needed distributed mobility and multimodal connectivity. It needed a brand new mobility layer, both above and below the ground, without messing up the existing rail that still carries millions of people.
Which brings us to part 2, the metro mobility layer. Let's take a look at the operational lines that are actively solving this east-west divide right now.
We gotta start with Line 1. This was the original game changer. Running from Versova through Andheri over to Ghatkopar, this was Mumbai's first major metro corridor. Before this line existed, crossing from the western suburbs to the central railway corridors could easily take you over an hour sitting in traffic. The metro completely shattered that barrier, bringing travel times way, way down. But it wasn't just about speed, right? Line 1 hooked up critical economic zones like CPZ and MIDC, and, crucially, it linked the western and central railways. It gave Mumbai its first real taste of a true interchange-driven corridor.
Building on that huge success, we now have Lines 2A and 7. Line 2A pushes deep into the really dense western suburbs, running from Dahisar down to Andheri West, serving massive residential and commercial belts like Borivali and Malad. Meanwhile, Line 7 runs roughly parallel to the Western Express Highway. What makes these two lines so absolutely critical is how they integrate the whole northwest quadrant of the city. They intersect with each other, they connect with Line 1, and they'll tie into future airport links. This right here is the exact moment the Mumbai Metro goes from being just a couple of isolated routes to a real functioning interconnected network. But as impressive as those elevated lines are, we really need to talk about the crown jewel. Part 3, the Aqua Line revolution.
I want you to just think about this for a second. What actually happens when you dig massive tunnels right under the financial capital of India? I mean, the engineering challenges alone are monumental, sure, but the economic impact? It's absolute dynamite.
We are, of course, talking about Metro Line 3, the Aqua Line. If there's one single piece of infrastructure that could completely redefine Mumbai, it's this one. It's a high-capacity, fully underground corridor that acts as a vital spine for the city. It cuts right through the most economically critical districts. We're talking from the historic centers of Colaba, CSMT, and Churchgate in South Mumbai, up through Worli and Dadar, slicing directly into the modern financial heart of BKC, going right across the massive redevelopment zone of Dharavi, and heading up through the airport zones and CPs.
Now, what's really interesting here is the ripple effect. By giving Mumbai a high-capacity underground spine for the very first time, the Aqua Line fundamentally shifts the economic center of gravity. When you radically reduce the friction of getting to these premier financial districts, you instantly change commute patterns. Office demand shifts. Real estate gravity adjusts to this brand new reality of accessibility. It seamlessly connects the old money of South Mumbai with the new money of BKC, plus the global connectivity of the airport, all in one incredibly swift underground ride.
And that massive convergence brings us perfectly to part 4, the rise of interchange hubs. Let's look at the new ecosystems of transit. Take a look at how these specific locations are transforming. They're going from mere transit stops to massive regional ecosystems. Take Andheri, for instance. By tying together lines 1, 2A, 7, and the huge Western Railway, Andheri isn't just a neighborhood anymore, it's a true urban interchange district. Ghatkopar is doing the exact same thing on the east side by linking Line 1 with the Central Railway. And with the Aqua Line and future extensions, Dharavi is perfectly positioned to become one of the most strategically connected, highly accessible points in the entire metropolis.
Which brings us to a really crucial realization. The real power of metro systems is not individual lines, it is interchanges. And honestly, nowhere is this more apparent than in BKC, the Bandra Kurla complex. BKC is the grand convergence point for the Underground Line 3, the future Line 2B, and critical airport linkages. Because of this sheer density of connections, BKC is evolving from a premium business district into a master regional mobility center. It basically becomes the hub around which all the spokes of the city revolve.
So what happens when you take these local interchanges and expand them across an entire region? That's part 5, building a multi-node megacity. Let's zoom out and see how this grid actually builds outward. The future phases of the Mumbai Metro are arguably even more important than what's operational today because they actively push the city's boundaries. Step 1 is deepening the suburbs. Lines 4 and 6 stretch out to integrate places like Tain and Vikaroli, which makes sense since Tain is a massive economic engine in its own right now. Step 2 focuses on industrial logistics. Line 5 extends all the way to Bhiwande, one of India's most crucial warehousing hubs. Just imagine the efficiency when a major logistics center is directly tied into the passenger transit grid. And Step 3 is pure regional economic integration, driven by the future Line 8.
And speaking of Line 8, that brings us to a massive number, 2. That represents Mumbai's incredible dual airport integration. Through Lines 7A and 8, the metro is going to seamlessly connect the existing airport with the massive upcoming Navi Mumbai International Airport. I mean, very few cities globally, let alone in India, are attempting dual airport metro integration at this immense scale. This is infrastructure specifically designed to move global capital and human talent with absolutely zero friction.
But to truly understand Mumbai's evolution, we have to look beyond just the rail network. The metro is really just a baseline of a much larger urban restructuring. While the trains are moving below and above ground, the new coastal road is completely redesigning vehicular movement along the western coastline. Then you've got the incredible Atal Setu Bridge, which is integrating Navi Mumbai so deeply into the city's economic ecosystem that the old geographic barriers are practically gone. Add in future underground road tunnels and emerging water and ferry transport systems, and you literally have a metropolis being rebuilt in every dimension simultaneously. Housing markets shift, office districts decentralize, and land values completely transform when a city gets this heavily integrated.
Which leaves us with this final thought. When a city connects above ground with elevated metros, below ground with high-capacity tunnels, and across the sea with massive bridge links, what does it become? Well, it stops being a linear city constrained by its geography, and it becomes a boundless, multi-node megacity. Mumbai is literally writing the global playbook on how to retrofit the future into an existing metropolis. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep looking closely at the systems shaping tomorrow's cities.